Former President Donald Trump has proposed dissolving the U.S. Department of Education, a federal agency responsible for overseeing national education policy and funding. While such a move would face significant legal, logistical, and political hurdles, it raises important questions about the role of federal oversight in education. Experts have weighed in on how this could impact public schools, and opinions are deeply divided. The Department of Education, established in 1979, plays a central role in distributing federal funding. This funding is crucial for ensuring that schools across the nation have the resources they need to provide quality education. It helps to level the playing field, especially for schools in low-income areas that might otherwise struggle to afford basic supplies and educational materials. It oversees programs like Title I for disadvantaged schools and special education funding. These programs are designed to support students who face additional challenges, ensuring they have access to the same educational opportunities as their peers. Enforcing civil rights. The department also plays a critical role in protecting students' rights, ensures schools comply with anti-discrimination laws like Title IX and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. These laws are essential for creating an inclusive environment where all students can thrive, regardless of their background or abilities. Setting national standards. The department influences educational priorities through various initiatives, influences educational priorities through grants and guidance on testing and accountability. This helps to ensure that students across the country are meeting certain academic standards, which is important for maintaining a high quality of education nationwide. Collecting data. The department also plays a key role in gathering and analyzing educational data, publishes research and statistics to inform policy decisions at state and local levels. This data is invaluable for understanding the current state of education and identifying areas that need improvement. By providing this information, the department helps to shape the future of education in the United States. Redirect power to states and localities. Trump argues that education decisions should be made at the state and local levels, not by a federal bureaucracy. He believes decentralization would empower parents and communities. Reduce federal oversight. By dissolving the department, federal enforcement of educational standards and civil rights protections would largely fall to states. Align with conservative principles. Many conservatives support reducing federal involvement in education, viewing it as a step toward school choice and local control. Loss of federal funding. The Department of Education administers billions in funding for low-income students, special education programs, and various school improvement initiatives. This funding is crucial for many schools, especially those in underprivileged areas. Without this federal support, states would need to find alternative funding sources, which could be a significant challenge. Wealthier districts might be able to compensate for the loss through local taxes or private donations, but poorer districts would likely struggle. This could create a widening gap in educational quality and resources between affluent and low-income areas, exacerbating existing inequalities, and school improvement programs. States would need to find alternative funding sources, likely creating disparities between wealthy and poorer districts. This disparity could lead to overcrowded classrooms, outdated materials, and a lack of extracurricular activities in less affluent schools. Additionally, schools might have to cut essential programs, such as arts and music, which are often the first to go when budgets are tight. The overall educational experience for students in these districts would suffer, potentially impacting their long-term academic and career prospects. Uneven civil rights protections. Federal oversight ensures schools comply with anti-discrimination laws. Without federal enforcement, states with weaker civil rights protections could fail to address issues like racial segregation, gender equity, or disability accommodations. This could lead to a resurgence of discriminatory practices in some areas, undoing decades of progress in creating inclusive and equitable educational environments. Students from marginalized communities would be the most affected, facing increased barriers to receiving a quality education, gender equity, or disability accommodations. Schools might lack the resources or the will to implement necessary changes, leaving students without the support they need to succeed. This could result in higher dropout rates and lower academic achievement among these groups, further entrenching social and economic disparities. Challenges for standardization. Federal guidelines on testing and accountability ensure some level of consistency in education quality. Eliminating the department could lead to fragmented systems with varying standards, making it harder to compare performance across states. This lack of standardization could also complicate college admissions and job applications, as there would be no uniform measure of student achievement. Students moving between states might face difficulties adjusting to different curricula and expectations, disrupting their educational progress. Increased role for states would gain more autonomy over curriculum, teacher certification, and testing. This could foster innovation in some regions, allowing states to tailor their educational approaches to better meet the needs of their students. However, it could also exacerbate inequities, as states with fewer resources or less commitment to education might fall behind. The quality of education a student receives could become even more dependent on their geographic location, leading to a patchwork of educational standards and outcomes across the country. And testing. This could foster innovation in some regions, but exacerbate inequities in others. States with strong educational systems might thrive, developing new teaching methods and curricula that better serve their students. In contrast, states with weaker systems might struggle to keep up, leaving their students at a disadvantage. The overall effect could be a more divided and unequal educational landscape. Impact on college aid. The Department of Education manages federal student loans and Pell Grants. Its dissolution would require transferring these responsibilities to another agency, potentially disrupting access to financial aid. This transition could create confusion and delays for students applying for aid, making it harder for them to afford higher education. The uncertainty could also deter some students from pursuing college altogether, particularly those from low-income backgrounds who rely heavily on federal aid to cover tuition and other expenses, and Pell Grants. Its dissolution would require transferring these responsibilities to another agency, potentially disrupting access to financial aid. The transition could lead to administrative challenges, such as delays in processing applications and dispersing funds. Students might face increased uncertainty about their financial aid status, making it harder to plan for their education. In the long term, this could reduce college enrollment rates and limit opportunities for students from disadvantaged backgrounds, further widening the gap between different socioeconomic groups. Advocates argue that education decisions are best made by those closest to the community, allowing for tailored solutions. Eliminating the department could cut administrative costs and reduce federal red tape for states and schools. Conservatives believe decentralization could boost school choice initiatives, including vouchers and charter schools. The federal government plays a key role in leveling the playing field for underfunded schools and marginalized students. By providing essential funding and resources, it ensures that all students, regardless of their socioeconomic background, have access to quality education. This support is crucial for bridging the gap between affluent and underfunded schools. A lack of national oversight could result in a patchwork of education systems, with varying levels of quality and access. Without a centralized authority, states and local governments might adopt disparate policies, leading to inconsistencies in educational standards. This could exacerbate existing inequalities and create new challenges for students who move between states. Transitioning responsibilities to other entities could lead to delays or gaps in services like financial aid and special education. These services are vital for supporting students with unique needs, and any disruption could have long-lasting impacts on their educational outcomes. Experts warn that the lack of a cohesive strategy could hinder the effectiveness of these programs. Critics argue that a weakened federal role could diminish the U.S. as ability to compete in a global economy that values standardized education benchmarks. In an increasingly interconnected world, maintaining high educational standards is essential for preparing students to succeed on a global stage. A strong federal presence helps ensure that the U.S. remains competitive by fostering a well-educated workforce. Supporters of the MOVE proponents argue that the federal government has overreached in education, stifling local innovation and imposing one-size-fits-all solutions. Critics of the proposal education experts warn that removing federal oversight could undermine equity, accountability, and the nation's ability to address systemic disparities. Legal barriers. The Department of Education's creation was authorized by Congress, meaning Congress would need to pass legislation to dissolve it, a politically unlikely scenario. Logistical complexity. Transferring programs, responsibilities, and staff to other agencies or states would be a massive undertaking with significant risks of disruption. Political pushback. Teachers' unions, civil rights groups, and many states would likely oppose the move, citing concerns over funding and protections. Dissolving the Department of Education would represent a seismic shift in how public education is governed in the United States. While supporters believe it could empower local communities and foster innovation, critics warn it would exacerbate inequities and undermine civil rights protections. Whether this proposal gains traction will depend on political dynamics and public opinion in the coming years. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more updates.